Hello, lads and ladies, and welcome to this. It's Sunday, which means one thing. It's showtime. We've got 11 Sky Bet League One matches to talk about. Only one game did not happen yesterday. That was Cambridge versus Reading, which will be played tomorrow night under the lights at the Abbey Stadium as well. We will talk about that later on in the show. But a bumper-packed weekend to discuss. We've got new leaders at the top. We've got first wins for football clubs in Sky Bet League One. We've had a managerial sacking, yes, at Fleetwood Town. 2 sackings in 2 weeks in Sky Bet League One. And both of them played each other yesterday. Dean Holden and Scott Brown now joins him as the next casualty of the Sky Bet League One managerial go-around as well. In tonight's stream, we'll go through 11 games. We'll go through Scott Brown's sacking, and we'll also go through a very eventful deadline day. Really, because a lot of transfers happened. A lot of transfers did not happen. So, again, get liking, get subscribing, get commenting as we enter our guest for the evening. A man with over 250 subscribers to his name. And, doing well on the old YouTube scene. An experienced face of the Lincoln City and the League One shows these days. We welcome in Jake from Channel 72. He's right this week.
Yeah. Well done, Ben, mate. Yeah, no, good to see you again, mate. Obviously, we spent pretty much all afternoon talking about League One with the boys on T-Lock. Go make sure you check that out tomorrow. But yeah, it's good, mate, isn't it? It's enjoyable. It's been a bit of a busy day for you, from what I understand.
Very, very busy. So I'll tell you my run through of my day. Yesterday, I get home around about 12:15 in the morning, and that is no joke. From Charlton, I got up at 4:45 in the morning, so I was pretty knackered. Woke up, had my breakfast, nice and chill day. Was always going to go to the gym. Obviously still running, still training, all good for the mind and all that. And I was sending a video, Tom, and phone written all over it. If that's speaking about my day, and obviously I'm going to watch his video. I still not watched that, by the way, so I apologise, Tom. And I basically was saying, and it comes up top of his phone on the Snapchat, Scott Brown, club statement, Scott Brown. I was like, oh my God, Scott Brown has been sacked. I am mesmerised. The club have taken this decision to sack him. So I've made a video on my thoughts. We will go on it later on. And were you shocked, Jake? Just quickly, obviously, we will come. Did it shock you?
Yeah, because we'd spoken before, and obviously on many times on T-Lock and personally, and you told me that Scott Brown had one of the safest jobs in the EFL. And I was telling you, I don't know, based on how you're playing. And I mean, I've watched all of your videos so far this year. And the performances haven't got any better apart from yesterday. So perhaps the players knew something yesterday that you lot didn't know, and that he was going to be leaving. So difficult when a manager's lost 6 on the bounce, only got 1 point out of the possible 18. You're not surprised, but given the fact that you've been telling me that Scott Brown was safe and absolutely fine, then yeah, I was a little bit surprised, to be honest.
Absolutely. And also, I just want to thank everyone on YouTube for the time. Obviously, I might be a bit quieter now as I go into my new role as manager of Fleetwood Town Football. No, I would never ever do that. But let's go into the comments. Hello, play up Portsmouth. A happy Portsmouth fan indeed. Logan, I hope you had a good birthday, mate. It was his birthday on Friday evening, so you had a good weekend. And Portsmouth managed to pay you back. My mate, our mate, Dylan, guess who's here? Invincible Blues coming through. Until you lose next week, then you're going to go, we're not going to win a game till Christmas. Good evening.
They're not playing next week, then. International break.
Oh, well, the week after. It'll be Mo next week. We've not won a game. We're seeing you out. Again, guess who here? Obviously, Dylan is a good mate of the T-Lock family. Hello, Matt, a Lincoln fan. A couple of Lincoln fans I love, and another Lincoln fan I love, and we love, actually, instead of I. Even in a long trip yesterday, a ground sank once when they scored. Bristol Rovers is a is one of those places where it's either dead or it's either electric, I find at times. I'm just enjoying being on the Vale train that keeps chugging down the tracks. Unbelievable. We'll come to Port Vale later. And a donation before we get started. We shouldn't be 3-0 down, but when 1-1 did come, we were always going to win. We have Starlet, our winning way, May, Taylor, and Lieber Quality. Thank you so much for the donation. All the donations do go back to funding this stream. Obviously, this software does cost money, and obviously the channel does cost money to run. So every donation, every penny we make from YouTube goes back into the channel. Keep your comments coming. We will go into them. We will timestamp this if you haven't, if you watch it back as a video as well. Blackpool, Wigan. What a win for the Seasiders. A real difficult few weeks for them. A difficult transfer window where I don't think Neil Critchley was backed as much as he quite had liked or hoped for. A busy deadline day was expected. In fact, nothing came in. A few went out. Rob Apter being one, going on loan to Tranmere till at least January, and that surprised me. But again, Jordan Rhodes, who did come in last week, did score. He had 5 shots in the game, and Blackpool were much, much better. They only averaged 32% of possession throughout the game. Wigan dominated possessions, but 7 shots on target, and an 89th minute equaliser for Wigan, cancelled out by King Kenny Dougal, the Australian midfielder, who did score a brace in the League One playoff final, believe it or not, in the 94th minute.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Do you know what? I remember coming on a week ago and saying Jordan Rhodes was probably the only positive for Blackpool as we beat them 3-0. And let alone he's got on the score sheet this week, and it was a really tidy finish as well. But good for Blackpool to prove to themselves and their supporters that they are able to score in goals. They've had a real barren run in front of goal in the last couple of weeks, but good for them to score 2. And then Wigan are going to have these days. They're still getting used to being a squad together. They're going to have these days, aren't they? Like they had at Barnsley last week. So for me, Blackpool, good for them to get up and running at home, I suppose. It's been a while since they scored a couple of goals, but for Wigan, I'm sure they'll have better days at the office.
Where do you see Blackpool going? Because it is, 6 games into the season now. And I always see 6 games as the first chunk where you can kind of go, with 6 in, 40 to go. 7 in, 39 to go. It doesn't quite seem as long to go, does it? Where you've still got 40 games. 6 games is very early on. They've got 9 points, but started poorly. Does that show you what Blackpool are expecting, the kind of the pressure that are on Blackpool for what they've done previously in this division and what Neil Critchley's done previously in this division? Because if you look at it, they've only lost 1 game, and that was to Lincoln City, who were a very good side that, are doing really well in Sky Bet League One at the minute. And if it wasn't for late goals, they'd have won their last 5 games. Yeah,
it's a bit mental, isn't it, for Blackpool? Where do I see them? Look, last time they got promoted and won the playoffs, they had a really slow start, didn't they? They were kicking around 15th, 14th until they went on a really good run and burst into the top 6. So I wouldn't be surprised if Blackpool did something similar. The early signs are suggesting that they won't. But still, I remember that January window really changed them that season. And they brought in Ellis Sims. I can remember, seem to think Embledon came on loan maybe in the January as well. And they transformed the season. So they could potentially be doing something similar. But yeah, they're a good side, Blackpool. They, once the first goals have come, like they have on Saturday, you'd expect them to maybe kick on and grab a couple of results. Yesterday, and we are a very good side, by the way, mate. You'll find out in 2 weeks.
Talking of good sides, Bolton, one hell of a side. Yesterday, probably with Peterborough at Portsmouth, game of the day. I'd probably edge this one because I kind of think there's 2 good sides in this one. And I think in Portsmouth, Peterborough, there's 2 good sides, but there's one side in Portsmouth being not significantly, quite a little bit better at this moment in time than Peterborough. I think they've recruited better and had a better transfer window and are a bigger football club, and you'd expect them to be. Bolton won by 2-1. It was an interesting one because Bolton, obviously, Terwell did come back. He is a big, big boost. I think he played in the cup against Middlesbrough where they lost 3-1 in the cup. So getting him back is huge. Obviously, Iredale, the one that's come out, and Santos and Jones partner him. And they've got a really strong team, Bolton. They like to really kind of change that midfield area. It was Thomason, Dempsey, Sheehan yesterday with Williams, Cogley wing backs and the Adebayo and Charles up front, which you're expected to see these days. Charles did score his 4th goal in 5 games, a penalty. But the main talking point was a Joe Wildsmith sending off. Derby only had one shot on target, which I find very, very worrying. Even with 10 men, and they didn't have a shot on target from that penalty, when they scored it in the first half. And not to have one in the second half when they're chasing the game, I think is very, very disappointing if you're a Derby fan. And again, they're 9 points in, and they are very much like Blackpool, very hit and miss. They won, 4-2 last week at Peterborough, but were brilliant. And, you saw against Fleetwood, they got a 1-0 win, and they comfortably saw out the game. But then Oxford comes, and, these games are just not backing up performances enough. Wigan at home, disappointing display. And it's like, well, 1 minute they're good and 1 minute they're bad. And we label this as the Peterborough style. In good moments, the good. In bad moments, the bad. And I see Derby County going that way at the moment.
Yeah, this was the game that I thought personally swayed on bad refereeing decisions. I look at the penalty for Bolton, and I said it on T-Lock this week. I didn't think it was a penalty. I don't think Smith fouled Sheehan inside the box. I think it's done outside. And then you're looking at the goal, the red card for Joe Wildsmith. It hits him in the stomach, in the chest. It's definitely not a red card, but it was a stupid mistake from Sonny Bradley to even allow the situation to get into that position. So I think Derby were unfortunate. I get your argument that they'd be disappointed to not have another shot on target, but they're playing against certainly my title favourites for the best part of 40 minutes with the additional time. It's a pretty difficult ask, Ben. And then the goal that won the game ultimately took a really healthy deflection for a Bolton point of view and floated over Vickers' head. So Bolton were good, obviously, but for Derby, I don't know. I don't think they're as poor as perhaps people are making out, purely because of the circumstances and the fact that had the decisions gone Derby County's way, Ben, I could see the result, the scoreline being flipped. But because the referee decided to give Bolton the edge, you can see why Derby lost, and they looked so poor because of the circumstances. So, yeah, Derby weren't at it. But if the decisions went the other way, then I think you'd be lauding Derby County for a really good point on the road.
Absolutely, and we're going to talk about your lot now. And if I'm honest with you, Jake, I always see Lincoln. Well, maybe not until, and maybe so a little bit last season at times. But because Fleetwood weren't one of the bigger clubs, I didn't kind of feel Lincoln, because all Lincoln did last season was be better against the better side and draw against the other side similar, a little bit better, a little bit worse than themselves. But this year they've tweaked that a little bit. And look, they are 5 unbeaten and they are doing really well. They have won 3 games. And a couple by 3-goal scores. They are through into the cup after beating a Premier League club, and it was that really surprising. I'm not quite sure. I actually made a joke. I thought there's going to be a couple of surprises where Everton and Sheffield United won a game of football in the cup this week, and obviously Everton scraped through, and Lincoln did a really good job. But Lincoln in cups, we all know they did well in the Carabao Cup last year. I think they got knocked out to Southampton, didn't they? Yeah. They've done well in the FA Cup previously, as we all know about. But Lincoln are that side where if you're a Fleetwood, if you're Bristol Rovers, or if you're anyone in League One, really, that you kind of think, for God's sake, we've got to play Lincoln today, at Lincoln at home, and Lincoln, we've got to go to Lincoln. And I used to go to Lincoln thinking, what a day out it is. I can't wait, buzzing for that, perfect chance to get, 3 points. What a day would it be if we won? Now I'm kind of thinking, I don't want to go. And it's going to be a hard place to go to, Lincoln. And that is, bang, you've got it perfectly. And Mark Kennedy, did I think he'd do well at Lincoln when he got appointed? Well, you told me he got a 4-year deal, and you were telling me, it's the right choice. The club have done really well there, because if he doesn't do well, we only have to pay for this amount of time. But if he does do well, we've got him secure then, and he's ours till 2026. And I just see that being bang on. And your owners get very little things wrong. I think the owners were in the away end, weren't they? At Sheffield United, which you don't get many of them, mate. Honestly, it's incredible if you've seen that. And I just think Lincoln are going the right way. The only disappointing thing is I'd be saying, I think it's 11 points now. I think at the end of the season, I think there could be a case of even missing out on, I know this sounds crazy, missing out on the top 2 or even the top 6 by maybe a point or 2 points, and you're kind of going Northampton away, Bristol Rovers away, and every team has them. I still go on about Fleetwood being, at Sunderland. If we'd have won that game, and I think on goal difference, Fleetwood might have been a championship team. And I still think to that day. What are your thoughts on your boys at the moment?
Yeah, do you know what? It's difficult to be really impressed with Lincoln so far this year, and I know I'm forced to say that because I'm a Lincoln fan, but we've played really well in every single game, bar the opening day. And since then, you've seen we've gone 7 unbeaten in all comps, with 5 wins and 2 draws in that period. I think we've been phenomenal this so far this season, like you mentioned. If we hadn't dropped those points to Northampton and Bristol Rovers, Ben, we'd be sat top of the league, 2 points clear, and I don't think anyone could really argue with that, based on the performances that we've had this year. But I think it's the fact that the players are used to playing together. We've not brought in so many loans. They're all, permanent signings, and they've all improved as well. And Danny Mandroy, the absolute gem of the team so far this year. But one of the reasons why we've been so good, Ben, is because we've been able to change games from the bench. We weren't able to do that last year. Mark Kennedy would have looked over his shoulder a year ago and saw the likes of Jovan Makama, Morgan Warsfield-Gregg, Hayden Cann, Ocean Gallagher, who are all kids and they've not had a lot of first-team football. This year, he's looking over his shoulder. Tyler Walker, Teddy Bishop, TJ Omer, Ben House on occasions has been on the bench. So, yeah, look, it's been a really good start to this season. I don't think we're in the top 2 conversation, but I certainly think we're in the top 6 conversation, based on how we've started. And if we miss out on 2nd or 6th on these stupid 90-plus minute equalisers or whatever, it might kill us. But no, I'm really positive, mate. Looking forward to playing West Ham in the Cup as well. That's going to be a great night at the Bank. So, yeah, things are going well, Ben, at the moment. The international break's probably come at the wrong time. We want to keep the momentum going, but we open up again with Carlisle next week at home, and that's a game that you put your money on Lincoln to win. So, fingers crossed the momentum can keep going, and Mark Kennedy proven to be a top manager and is an even better bloke. So, looking forward to seeing what he can produce this year.
On to Bristol Rovers, obviously, a decent point for them, all things considered. The big talking point is Johnson Clark-Harris. They brought one striker into the football club, and that being Giovanni Brown. They obviously let Loft go to Port Vale, thinking Johnson Clark-Harris was a done deal. £800,000 was the bid accepted. The deal was done at 6 o'clock. The paperwork was starting to be signed at 9 o'clock. 3 hours later, Johnson Clark-Harris travelled with his Peterborough teammates, was in the hotel, said goodbyes, was on his way to sign this deal, have his medical, on deadline day, to be told, well, it didn't quite get done in time. And Johnson Clark-Harris goes back to Peterborough, with Peterborough signing 2 strikers.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because obviously they let Shimanga go to Fleetwood earlier in the day as well. But yesterday showed me exactly why Bristol Rovers needed Johnson Clark-Harris, because they were playing a lot of long straight balls into Giovanni Brown, and that's not Giovanni Brown's game. If you watched Giovanni Brown last year for the portion that he was allowed to play in, Ben, he was much better off a target man or off a striker in Sam Nombe, or Nomble as you call him. He plays better as a number 10, and Bristol Rovers played him as a number 9 yesterday, and they weren't great going forward. I think they had 70% of the ball and didn't trouble Lucas Jensen once. They needed a big physical striker up front, and obviously, there's 2 sides to every story. And Joey Barton was there after the game saying, well, I thought it was a done deal. I thought we had him. We've lodged an appeal and it's been rejected. Whereas Peterborough is saying, well, you had the deal done. You pretty much cocked it up your end. So it's difficult in football because you've got something similar going on at Wrexham and Harrogate, haven't you, for Luke Armstrong? Except Wrexham might get a bit of extra leniency because it will class as an international transfer because they're in Wales. It's a bit bizarre, but yeah, Bristol Rovers needed Clark-Harris, the way they play, but I think there are some positives to take for Bristol Rovers out of yesterday. I thought Ryan Woods was exceptional in midfield, pinging the ball around. He's got good pedigree. I think he played at this level with Hull before. Certainly did really well for Brentford previously. Luke Thomas was a menace with Jack Hunt. They both threatened down there. And Harvey Vale, I was impressed with him when he came on. So plenty of positives for Rovers, but really needed that striker because Collins, Brown aren't quite firing at the moment.
No, absolutely. Collins, no goals, just the one assist in his first 6. I will come to this question, Roscoe. Don't worry, I will come back to that. So Fleetwood are on my list very soon. Quickly go through Burton, Exeter now. Exeter are top of the league, and with 6 games in, Exeter are very similar to Lincoln, where you don't want to play them, especially at St James's Park. But away from home, they've been to Carlisle and won. They've been to Wycombe and won, and they've been to Burton and won. The only place they've lost and conceded a goal is Portsmouth, 1-0, and they probably should have got a point there if it wasn't for a Will Norris spectacular save in the last minute. It's Trevitt, the star man in midfield, 2-2, alongside the experienced Tom Carroll. And Jules is really thriving as well down that left wing back role. Who has played centre half for Fleetwood and MK Dons previously as well. And they didn't go into the game without a centre forward, didn't they? And Cole, Mitchell, and Rankin. 3 wingers or midfielders. You'd kind of say. And Exeter have really got to settle sort of. I think a lot of credit's got to go to Gary Caldwell, because a lot was said about him. He's only ever done it at Wigan, where he had the team to do it, and he's not really thrived upon. And he's done a really, really good job with this Lincoln side. He's set up a settled squad, full of 7s, full of 8s out of 10, and they've got them working. Really happy about that.
His Exeter side, you mean, not his Lincoln side?
It was Exeter side. There we are. We have to make one mistake. It's been a long 30.
Yeah, it's been a long day, Ben. But yeah, I totally agree, mate. I think Cobbo's done really well, because you look at the outgoings at Rotherham. I'm doing it myself now, Ben. You're giving me some sort of mistake bug.
StreamYard.
You look at the exits out of Exeter this year. Jay Stansfield went back, and good for him to score against Plymouth last week on his Blues debut. They lost Sam Nombe. Giovanni Brown went in the summer as well. They had Jamal Blackman left the club as well. So there was a lot of losses for Archie Collins is another one as well that left, didn't he? So there are a lot of departures. But you look at the recruitment at Exeter, and Gab Sutton said really well on the transfer deadline day stream we did with Tom and Wardy, that Exeter's recruitment in the last 5 years has been pretty spot on. And you look at the players they've brought in this year. Ryan Trevitt, on loan from Brentford. If you're playing for Brentford, Ben, at any level, especially if you're kicking around the first team, I think he won their B Team Player of the Year last year. You're a pretty good footballer, because they recruit excellently. They're probably one of the best in the country at recruiting. You've got Dion Rankin coming from Chelsea, and again, if you're a youngster at Chelsea, you pretty mustard, aren't you? So yeah, Exeter will be really pleased with their start. They've got a win at home under the belt. They've got a couple of wins away under the belt, and no one wants to play them because they're full of confidence. I can imagine Orient and Richie Wellens are sort of quaking in their boots at the thought of going there this weekend. But really good Exeter, really like them, and the way they play. They were probably, Ben, and I say this, I went to every league game last year. I was probably the most impressed. I did, mate. Yeah, I don't like to mention it, but Exeter were probably the best home team that I saw last season. And I went to Plymouth, Ipswich, Derby, Wednesday. They impressed me the most, and the style of football is so unique. But they've got it down to a T, and really happy for Gary Caldwell. He's a great manager, and good things going on at SJP this year.
Absolutely. And Carlisle, what a result for them. They had to go and win this game, in my opinion, because they found it tough. And Burton have also found it tough as well. Obviously, a quick word on them before we do come back to Carlisle. Burton, the lowest goal scorers in League One now, and Dino Manri is finding it tough. A few questions being asked of him, and maybe a couple of more games. I know they've got Fleetwood coming up, and that could be a pivotal moment for him as well. So watch out for that. But Carlisle, back to them. I don't think 5 points from the first 6 is a bad return. Look, Wigan at home, Shrewsbury at home, Fleetwood at home, in there as well. They've got Stevenage away next week, which is going to be a really, really tough game. And you'd have probably thought, well, they're going to be quite close to each other in the first 5-6 games as they get close to each other. Although Stevenage did really, do a lot better business, you kind of thought, well, will it take time for that Stevenage time to gel, customise to League One? But they haven't. It's Steve Evans, and he's doing a really, really good job. Again, Callum Guy, Mox and Gibson in that midfield 3 have been really, really pivotal. Maguire and Plange at the front 2, still not firing on all cylinders, shall we say. But Joe Garner, a bit of experience coming off the bench, getting a goal. You can count for Joe Garner scoring, I think, 10 goals for Carlisle this season because the amount of minutes he will play, he will get opportunities. It's the first clean sheet of the season for Carlisle United. I do think it's just Fleetwood and Bristol Rovers now yet to keep a clean sheet as well. So that's a quite interesting one. All the points and all the goals for Carlisle, Jake, have come at home.
Yeah, it's a better week, but Luke Plange is going to wait till he's in the 90th minute at St Bank to score his first goal in Sky Bet League One in a couple of weeks.
You and just
yeah, absolutely.
What was it? What was he called? It went to Forest Green last year. Jordan Garrick scored.
Jordan Garrick, came up to my mate Mullers and gave him the big shush. That was brilliant. But Carlisle were good on Saturday. I've watched Blue Army TV's review of the game. They were excellent by all accords. I mean, they played a very poor Shrewsbury team, and we'll come on to them shortly. But for Carlisle to get that first win at home under their belt, Owen Moxon wasn't on the score sheet this week. It was a Tom Bayliss own goal and Garner as well getting on the score sheet, who can score goals at this level, scores some very important goals for Fleetwood at this level. He's hoping that he can do the same for Carlisle. But they've been unfortunate in some games, I think. In terms of the Fleetwood game, I thought they were probably the better team and could have won that. Against Wigan, they were pretty good, I thought, as well. So, Carlisle, it'd be good for them to finally get a win and to do it over a team that took arguably your best player in the summer, and for him to expect a round of applause when he came back, to be greeted with boos, and he had a go at the manager, didn't he, Morgan Feeney. So interesting, but Carlisle, they're getting the gears moving. International break, although they haven't actually got much of a break, have they? They can go down to Stevenage, get a point. They come to Lincoln in a bit of confidence, and we'll see what they can do. But good confidence booster for Carlisle to prove to themselves that they can actually, perform at this level and compete.
Shrewsbury are a weird one because 1 minute they'll be absolutely brilliant and 1 minute they'll be, really, really poor. You don't know what you're going to get from them. They're the perfect side, but if you need a win, that you go, oh, Shrewsbury at home, Burton at home. It's like, well, sometimes it proves, and they come out and win 1-0. Like, they've been a real difficult engine to play against at Fleetwood the last few years, and that's just the ethos of Shrewsbury. Never mind who's the players, who's the manager. And to be fair, Udo and Bowman have been together 3-4 years. They've been together at least 3.5 seasons now, and obviously they are a good partnership. But they have got the lowest expected goals in the league at 3.9. Cheltenham, obviously. I think I expected 1.7 goals nearly yesterday and didn't score. So the difference is with Shrewsbury compared to Fleetwood, Burton, Cheltenham, those sorts of sides at the bottom, they know how to win games of football. They've got players, Dunkley in there, Kenner, Bayliss, Winchester, Bowman, Udo, Morosi, all experienced players, all good players as well. Obviously, it's Matty Taylor's obviously only had a few games as manager, in his career really. But again, he's quite impressive. 3 wins, 3 defeats for the Shrews. Charlton, Fleetwood. Then we will get through this as. We're on 28.5 minutes. We're going to be done with 32.5. 4 minutes on this game with Scott Brown's shot. So the game is probably going to be less than 35 seconds long. Charlton came from behind to win. And Fleetwood, for the first 15 minutes, were miles the better side, hit the bar, tested the goalkeeper a couple of times. We're all right in the game. Stockley, a real number 9 performance that first half an hour. I thought it was brilliant. And I said we need a performance from our number 9 in the absence of Jack Marriott due to a pulled hamstring. As Scott Brown said, is it a hamstring injury? Is it? We don't know. He doesn't want to be at the football club right now. It was a youngish team. Again, Holgate come through our academy. Junior signed from Waterford. Johnson come through our academy. Graydon, just signed from the League of Ireland. And the squad has experience, the likes of Toto and Ciala, the likes of Josh Vela, the likes of Jaden Stockley, Broom as well. So it's a decent little mix. But Charlton won it through. Alfie May, 2 goals on the day. 4 in 3 for that man now. In 47 goals in 91 League One games in the last two seasons and a little bit as well. So he is the difference. He gets in behind us the most, in my opinion, the most natural goal scorer in League One. Jake, quickly, how do you sum up this game?
Fleetwood have played better from recent weeks by the looks of it. I didn't think really Charlton deserved to go in front the way they did. They get the equaliser, which was the first time they looked. I mean, just watched your video. It looked like the first time they got behind you. Alfie May's prolific. He can score goals. So he can do that. The penalty, very clever play from Blackett Taylor that he's just stopped and let the defender run into him. It's a penalty for sure. And Alfie May does what he does best and took it home from the spot. But positive signs for Fleetwood, I think. If they can, get a hold of the game, go 1-0 up and have something to hold on to, I think you're going to get some points this year. So more positives, and obviously the fact you've lost your manager might kick you on a little bit as well.
So Scott Brown has been sacked as Fleetwood Town manager. Scott Brown, I'm just going to try and be as quick as possible in this. He won 14 games out of 52 games. And for those saying he worked miracles last season, he did not work miracles last season. That is a lie, absolute lie. People look at the table and say, well, we finished 20th on 40 points. Then we finished on 18 points higher, conceding 30 goals less. Yes, good job. Well done. But he was significantly backed in that window. He was allowed to bring players in like Mendes Gomez, like Lewis Warrington, like Josh Vela, like Jay Lynch. These players, Rooney as well. I think we actually paid a fee for Rooney as well. These players were pivotal and they were good signings. Don't get me wrong, the recruitment, needs clapping for that. Well done. But it wasn't miracles worked. And Scott Brown this season, what happened last season? We played not to lose rather than to win. And this season, what the games we drew last year, we drew, I think, 16 games last year. The games we drew last year, we've lost this year. So Scott Brown now lives in the real world and he's been sacked. Am I surprised? Yes. Am I shocked? Yes. Is it the right decision? In my opinion, yes. I'm sick of people saying it's too early. In 5 games' time, you'll be telling me it's too early. In another 10 games, you'll be telling me we should be giving them till Christmas. Then we'll get to Christmas. Oh, we should give them to the new year. Oh, we should give them the January transfer window. It never ends with football fans, and that is the simple thing. But one thing I will say, Scott Brown did a decent enough job last season. I do feel for him a little bit because I think he's been hung out to dry with the mess, the circus that's going on upstairs at this football club.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, mate. I disagree with what you said about Scott Brown last year. I know he was heavily backed in the window, but to take you from 40 points in a season to what you finished on last year, 61 last year, 58, to take you 15 to 18 points higher, and also to put you 7-8 points clear, 8 places clear of where you were last year. I think it's a good achievement. Yeah, he's been backed in the window, but some teams get backed and never produce, mate. So I think he did a pretty good job at Fleetwood last year. That would be my argument. This year, it's not been good enough. The difference between you and me, Ben, is we both drew a lot of games last year. We turned them into wins. You turned them into defeats. And that's the very fine mark. Football is all about fine margins. And had you won 2 of the games that you'd lost, or if you'd picked up an extra 4 points, extra 5 points, I don't think Scott Brown would be sacked at this moment in time.
Yeah. If we'd have drawn one more game, say if we'd have got to, we'd have drawn last week or today, he'd still be on the
job. From the names you've been linked with, Cowley and Robinson and Appleton and fellow Chris Beach, and there's some good names in there, Ben. If you can get a hold of a Cowley or a Robinson, then I think Fleetwood will be looking back up rather than looking back over the shoulder. So I understand where you're coming from. Scott Brown has been hung out to dry. The mess going on at Fleetwood is, and obviously I'm very privy to information that you're able to give me and other people. It seems like a mess. And the one person that you can change at a football club is the manager. You can't change the owner. You can't change the directors. You can't change the players. So Scott Brown had to pay the price. Not too early for me, in my opinion. If you'd have waited 10 games, it could be too late. So for me, right decision, probably just about, but it's so fine. It literally could have been 2 seconds in the 2 games of football, could have altered his Fleetwood career completely. So right decision for me, but very unfortunate for Scott Brown.
I've got 5 names very quickly, and I think they're quite unrealistic. Darren Moore will not come to Fleetwood. I'd love him to, but he won't come to Fleetwood. I think he'll have championship offers or top League One job very, very soon. I think maybe one at Charlton potentially, but you never know. Danny Cowley, I'd absolutely love. I think he's a top bloke. Dean Holden has worked with youngsters before at United and at Charlton. Let's be honest, it's a young squad. Anderson, Simway, Carnu, those types of players in there as well. Just a few to mention the name. Carl Robinson is my number one target by an absolute mile, and also Steve Cottrell as well. I've always liked him. I think he's a good, steady manager. And
can I throw a name at you, Ben?
Go on.
Can I throw?
Pete Wild.
Yeah, that's exactly who I was going to throw at you.
I don't think he'd leave Barrow, a settled club that are on the up.
I know, but it is a step up. It is a step up. Fleetwood are an established League One club, and they've got a squad to compete in the mid-table of League One. Barrow don't have that. And you look at the way Pete Wild's got his Barrow team playing this year. I mean, you look at them yesterday and the win against Harrogate. They were phenomenal, mate. And no one has given Barrow a chance, similar to no one gives Fleetwood a chance because of the size of the club and the clubs in the division, etc. Pete Wild is a man motivator who gets the fans on board. And if I were you, mate, if I was James Pilley or your two directors, what was the name of one of them? I can't remember the other one. His name was Steve. Can't remember his surname. I think that Pete Wild would be my. I can see why you'd go for Carl Robinson because he's got League One experience. But Pete Wild is on the rise. Halifax to Barrow to Fleetwood. It's a good progression. I think you'll be. I think you'd be happy if you appointed Pete Wild. I'm
sorry for going on about Fleetwood. Obviously, we tried to do the game before 32 minutes and 3 or 4 minutes on Scott Brown as well because it is the big talking point. If there's a managerial sacking, we do have to.
Where can I hear about it more, Ben? Tomorrow
on that League One podcast. And also get following it. That League One podcast where we're doing really well. We're on episode 7 now, and this young man next to me did a very good job at hosting. He'll be out tomorrow from the time of 5 a.m. So as soon as you get up and you're on your way to work or first day back at school, this week as well, and get us in and even listen to us in your phone calls. If your teacher tells you off, tell them that League One. I'm a tea-lopper. I'll do what I want. Right, very quickly go through the next few. Cheltenham did not score a goal. They've got 7 players on loan, Jake. It's a ridiculous amount.
And none of them started. Mental.
No, exactly. And also as well, they are looking like they're going to score goals. They are staying in games. They were the better side yesterday. But yet again, it's kind of like they get hit. And as soon as they can see one, it's like, they have to go and, lose the game or they can't get back into it. They've lost 1-0 most of the time. And again, 2-0 yesterday. But Barnsley have now won back-to-back away games 2-0, 3 wins, and in those 3 wins, they scored 11, conceded 0. It's not been a bad start for the Super Reds.
Yeah, no, Barnsley, since beating Port Vale on the opening day, everyone was purring over them and thought they were going to be absolutely fine. By the way, it was a penalty. Victor Adebayo has absolutely dragged Callum over to the floor. It's a penalty. Anyway, what we're talking about, Barnsley, they're a good side, mate. They've got some good players in the team. They've kept hold of Luke O'Connell. He was someone that I was worried about that Michael Duffy might try and poach at Swansea. And Devante Cole scoring the goals. Again, for Cheltenham, at what point do you get extremely worried about them? I think they had, an XG of, was it 1.7 yesterday, did you say?
Yeah, 1.6.
They look like, do you know what it feels like? When you're playing in a Sunday League team, Ben, I don't know if you've ever played Sunday League, and as soon as you went a goal down, you went, well, that's it. We're not going to score, and it sort of snowballs and it gets out of control. That's what Cheltenham are at the minute. They know they can't score, so to stay in games, they have to be defensively resolute, and they're not at the moment. But the goals will come if they keep creating chances. You'd be more worried if you were a Cheltenham fan if you were just not making any chances. They are making some chances. So the goals will flow. It's just a bad patch at the moment for them. But I'm confident they'll start scoring after the international break. Maybe. They might get a goal before Christmas. We don't know.
Leyton Orient, again, as soon as they start showing signs of life, they go back to their old ways, don't they, a little bit? And 4 points from 6 games. They did come in their previous 2 games. The side has got a lot of good play, but it all kind of feels like a bit mashed together a little bit in my eyes. Obviously, they've been together for some time, but it still feels like there are a few players short of a bit of quality in certain areas. And Stevenage kind of know the roles better. They know the jobs better. They know what they want to do better. And, Butler, as a signing, Burns as a signing, obviously Freeman's an experienced man. What a goal, by the way, from Nick Freeman. It's the goal of the day. 25 yards out, bang, hit the bar, went in. A little bit like Lampard's goal. did cross the line. Obviously, did not get given. Obviously, that was the reason. Goal line technology. He's in the footballing pyramid now, and Stevenage going there and winning by 3. Also, I thought they'd go there and win. I didn't kind of think they'd go there and win by 3. But they're also scoring goals but keeping clean sheets. That's 13 points, 4 wins, 1 draw, 1 defeat. The best ever start to a Stevenage EFL start as well. And Steve Evans was linked with a Hibs job. He's not going anywhere. I know a few Stevenage fans would have been devastated about that, and that could have been a big blow for them. But again, this Stevenage side keep plodding on. And Carlisle next week, they could be, if Exeter don't win, they could be top of the league.
Yeah, I'm starting to run out of superlatives for this Borough side. I get a lot of the hype off Matt Farley, the Stevenage fan. He's just
what a guy, by the way.
He's such a little bundle of energy. I absolutely love him. I love working with him on the EFL Debate with Gab. He's so positive all the time. And there's actually a clip of Charlie McNeil, who they signed on deadline day from Man United. They also signed Harvey White on a permanent from Tottenham. What a signing that's going to be for Stevenage. But Charlie McNeil scored bags of goals for United and City at youth age groups. Come on, he's a natural goal scorer. And what does he do on debut? Pops up at the near post, scores a
goal as well.
Really good goal. And I don't know if you've watched it, Ben, but the Stevenage Twitter put the video on, and you can see Farley in the back, just in a pair of denim shorts, like jumping up and down a bit like this. He's getting a bit excited. But yeah. No, Stevenage, mate, are such a good side. They know their roles, like you say. For me, these are the 2 clubs that have recruited the most intelligently out of the 4 promoted sides. You can't scoff at Orient's recruitment, but I think the way that Stevenage did it, they know their system more. They had Steve Evans in the job a little bit longer. They know what they are. And all they've done is they've brought in top-end League One players to play in the system, and they fitted in straight away. Dan Butler at left wing back. Is there a better crosser of the ball at this level than Dan Butler? Maybe Danny Andrew, but he plays for Cambridge and not Fleetwood. They've brought in Ben Thompson, Louis Thompson, Nick Freeman, all good players at this level. And if they can bring in the odd youngster like Harvey White and Charlie McNeil and Finney Burns on loan from Man City, who's done really well in the middle of that back 3, they're going to be fine. And do you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if Stevenage is still kicking about at the end of this. The top at the end of this month, because they've got some winnable games, mate. Carlisle next week, they've got some really winnable games towards the end of this month, and you wouldn't be surprised if they're sat on 20 points by the end of this month. But Orient, they're a little bit hot and cold, aren't they? A little bit Marmite at the moment. Need to start taking some chances, because they look like they had a couple of chances yesterday, but they need to take them. And if they take them in crucial parts of games, then they might start picking up a few more points.
Absolutely. Dylan, you boys old, or am I just young? I was 8 when that Lampard goal happened. So
I don't want to tell you how old I was.
Bear in mind, I was 8. That was my first, probably, tournament that I remember within. My first football memory is when England played USA and the Rob Green mistake, and obviously that was the same tournament. So that's the only kind of...
Is that your first memory of England?
No, that's my first memory, probably of football, if I'm honest with you. I don't remember anything else up until that. Definitely no pictures of me in like shirts. We'll move on.
Do you want to know my first? It was I don't know if it was the Euros in 2004. England played Portugal and we lost on pens, and Rooney got sent off, and Ronaldo just gave a cheeky wink to the camera as Rooney got sent off. That was brilliant.
Well, anyway, we'll go through Northampton, Wycombe now, and when I say the goal scorer's name, please can we not have any incest jokes like we had with, horrible little jokes that we had before in the tea that we're calling. Maybe go and have a listen later on. But it was Richard Keogh, Wardy, who did score the goal. And Wycombe seem to be back at their natural selves, don't they? Where they don't need the ball, they don't need many passes. And McCleary invokes that old-fashioned front 2 runner, hold-up man, target man, runner, poacher. They just seem to be one shot on target, 31% possession, Northampton 0, Wycombe 1. Gareth Ainsworth's turned it around at QPR. Matt Bloomfield's turned it around excellently at Wycombe. And they've got a great squad. And we were saying this. They're playing the same squad every week. Leahy back at wing-back yesterday, I thought, really helped them on that far flank. Vincent Young, another good fullback. Potts, Scowen, Phillips, midfield three. Obviously, we've said the front two as well. Lowe, really impressed. He's shown an eye for goal as well. Impressed with him since he's come in. And as well, the former Bristol City man. Farina Joseph, we've seen many times as well. And Keown, the goalkeeper, is a very good goalkeeper as well.
Matt
Stroik, yeah. Well, I didn't want to say that just to embarrass you. So well done on that bit of knowledge. Yeah, but 10 points from 4 games after losing a couple of games 3-0 and 2 clean sheets for the season now. Back to winning.
They didn't deserve it though, did they?
No, but again, Wycombe. How many times did Wycombe, the season they went up, seeing they got to the playoffs, deserve to win? At MK Dons, I went to the game. I watched Wycombe 8 times that season live. Right, they went to Bolton on a Tuesday night, and Bolton lost 2-0. Wycombe won, and Bolton were a miles of better side. Wycombe had 2 shots all game, won. MK Dons in the playoffs. I went to the game. I travelled 250 miles both ways to go to this game. For I get two sides of Oak support because I love League One that much. And Wycombe just sat in all game and defended for their lives.
Yeah, I don't know. Northampton are probably ruined the missed opportunities because they should have won the game. And you know what? I listened to John Brady, the Northampton manager, after the game, and he was there moaning about referees. And I thought, do you know what, mate? That's karma. That's absolute karma. You have it one way, you can't have it both ways. So
here we go. Tears.
I absolutely love that. But yeah, Wycombe, again, they're winning a Gareth Ainsworth way without Gareth Ainsworth being in the dugout. So Matt Bloomfield's turning them around slowly but surely. That philosophy will start to become ingrained in those players. They'll play better football. They've got some very good ball-playing midfielders. Phillips, I think he's on loan from Palace, isn't he? He's a very good ball-playing, and Potts as well. So, yeah, they're going to be fine. They're going to be absolutely fine, Wycombe. And under Bloomfield, it's a transitional season. I don't think they'll trouble the top 6, but they'll be that next little bracket outside, and I think they'll be happy to be there.
Absolutely. And there's 100 people in the chat. We've still got a couple of games to go. We've still got the League One table to go through and a Q&A at the end as well. So about 20 so minutes left of the show. So if you could like the show, it would massively appreciate it. It does help grow the channel and subscribe as well. 65% of the people that watch this channel are not yet subscribed and not got notifications on. So if you could do both, that'd be massively appreciated. As we do close in on 12,000 subscribers after a busy weekend. And what's a busy game? Now, probably as events happen, maybe game of the weekends are coming now. The last 2 games are being packed full of goals, packed full of action, drama, everything. Oxford, believe it or not, were top of the league. And I was quite surprised to see this because I've been on 4 shows with Wardy and the lad never brought it up once, really. Only every minute of the day. And now they drop into the playoffs, but Harris sent off. Greg Lee, who did score an equaliser after Port Vale took the lead to Lacaviti, who love his champ, by the way. And he eats spaghetti, he drinks Moretti, he hates the city. And I'm slowly growing a bit of a soft spot for Port Vale and also Andy Crosby. I think the supporters are one of the best in the division. I think they're very underrated. And at Vale Park, I think it kind of... I went there 2016, 2017, 2018, that era of the football club, and they were an absolute mess. You won't want to touch them. You won't want to go into the ground. It was falling apart. The training ground wasn't, brilliant. The players weren't brilliant. The manager wasn't brilliant. The atmosphere was toxic. Now, decent training ground, which overlooks Vale Park. The ground seems to have been sorted. They've moved the home fans back into the end. The away fans are in to create a better atmosphere. The fans are on board. Carol Leona there has done a really good job of. She doesn't go out and buy big players on big amounts of money, but what they will do, they'll buy decent players. They'll get a good coaching core in. They'll have everything done correctly, and that is why Port Vale are doing really well. 4 wins, a draw in their last 5. And a 99th minute winner after Greg Lee equalised in the 94th, got sent off in the 96th, and it was Alfie Devine, the lad on loan from Tottenham, a big fan of his, scoring the penalty in the 99th minute. What a result for the Valiants. Super Vale away.
Yeah, Vale were good, weren't they? I think Oxford didn't take their chances whatsoever, but you have to credit Vale for taking theirs, don't you? thought Vale were excellent again. Some of us have predicted them to do slightly worse than what they are doing, naming no names. But to come back and win at top of the league is fantastic. And Crosby, you mentioned it in your video, Ben. The reaction since losing to Barnsley has been nothing short of phenomenal from Crosby and all of the players. They've brought in some very good additions. Obviously, they've let Ellis Harrison go, but Ryan Loft comes in. Ryan Loft's a very useful striker. He's got a very unique set of skills that can help Port Vale get up the pitch and allow the players like Garrity and like Josh Thomas, etc., to get on the ball and affect the final third. Now they've got Alfie Devine on loan from Spurs, like you say. Wigan fans know all what he's about after he came through their youth ranks. So, yeah, do you know what? Fair play to Vale. I completely misjudged them, and they've gone on, and I think they're in the top 6 now, aren't they? So, some very good signings, some very good football, and they're doing absolutely champion.
Like a Etty. Right, you've got to remember that you've not watched it. I don't think you've watched his channel too much. I'm not the best at pronunciation. I'm not good with words, but he's a top player. Good. I really like Vale squad as well. And, I'm a big fan of Connor Ripley. I think I've made that very much aware in the last kind of 12 to 15 months as well. And All Blaster as well, I'm a big fan of as well. I think he's been absolutely brilliant since coming into the football club. And well done to Andy Crosby because, look, the reaction, they had Reading at home. They are Blackpool away, Charlton away, Carlisle at home, and they've got Oxford now away. And you probably, after that Barnsley game, probably go, I actually said they'd win the Reading game. I thought they'd draw at Bloomfield, lose at Charlton, beat Carlisle, lose here. And they've proven me wrong. And I thought I'd been generous with them. So well done to them. Oxford off it, but down to 9 men. That's going to affect them. But they've got squad depth now as well. And again, a bit of time to get back on the training ground. But obviously, it'd be interesting to see about the Mark Harris sending off, because I do think that if that is, it'll be 3 games with his violent conduct. If that is what it is, it'll get longer because he's off the ball. It's serious and it's, it'd be interesting to see what happens there. Again, Portsmouth now against Peterborough. They went 1-0 down, and what a turnaround. They had obviously Joe Morrell sent off, Tom's buddy, Tom's best mate, if he hasn't mentioned it already. Again, Abu Kamara just sold my car to Abu Kamara. What a player. And Colby Bishop back on the goal scoring plate as well. A brilliant day at Fratton Park. Perfect Portsmouth, prolific Portsmouth, and 3 points Portsmouth as they carry on this unbeaten streak under John Messinio. Only average 47% of possession, 7 shots on target, 17,000 fans, home fans in attendance to watch Portsmouth score by 3 goals to 1.
Yeah, and do you know what, Ben? They started off poorly.
Again.
Posh were on top for the first half. Now they capitalised. I think it was Zach Swanson made an error, and Ricky J Jones slammed it into the back of the net. But that's all that Posh did pretty much all afternoon. It was I don't think it's clueless at all. Pete Wild's it's a step up for Pete Wild.
No, I think he's saying you're clueless on the situation at Fleetwood. I'm not going into the Pilly situation because it's. People can keep saying that, but again, Fleetwood time will be fine. I believe that. But anyway, we're not on Fleetwood. We're on about.
And I'll go on. It was a great ball in from Marlon Pack to Colby Bishop. It was a great header. The second goal, you watch it back from a Posh point of view. I'm not going to say you're welcome at all. It was a real monumental mess up by Romani Critchlow, who's completely made a hash brown of it, hasn't he? But yeah, Pompey had to score the goal. It was a great goal from Kamara. They changed the game. Christian Sadie had a great game. I think he's been playing in midfield as a sort of the attack the link between attack and midfield. And then they go and kill the game off in the second half. Regan Poole obviously goes and taps into an empty net and celebrates in front of the Fratton end. So yeah, it's good for Portsmouth. They're able to score more than a goal in 90 minutes, and 2 weeks ago you wouldn't have been able to say that after they drew 0-0 with Cheltenham and Stevenage. So yeah, good for Pompey to get back to winning ways. Obviously they would have wanted to keep momentum, but the international break's going to kill that off a little bit. But they've got 2 tough games after the break. They've got Derby at home the week after, and then we go to Fratton Park in a really big game. So really excited to see how I think the next 2 weeks are going to see a lot about Pompey. And if they can come away with 4 points from those 2 games, I think Pompey very much, and rightly so, will be up there.
Absolutely as well. Devante Cole is now the League One top goal scorer with 6. Charlie White, Martin Wagon on 5. Victor Adebayojo, Dion Charles and Alfie May all level on 4 as well. Barnsley still the league's top goal scorers on 14. Bolton 12. Derby 11. Lincoln, Wigan both scored 10. Oxford and Portsmouth now scored 9 goals. Not bad for Portsmouth, who could only conceded 2 goals all year as well. And both early on in games at Fratton Park. Fortress Fratton is starting to return as well. I think, you look at the last 6 games, I think you've got to give some honourable mentions to Joe Lowe, Will Amundsen, Nicky Cadden and Conor Honohan as well. I think have all impressed me when I was going through my notes before as well. And however, lowest goal scorers, when you look at it, Reading, Blackpool, Carlisle, Orient, Shrewsbury, Fleetwood, Burton, there's a few sides down there struggling in League One, and you can kind of see why. We will come to, very quickly, Cambridge Reading, who is a Monday night game. What's your thoughts on that one, Jake? I think Cambridge would be fancying the chances because Reading haven't been too great away, obviously losing this year, losing at Exeter and losing at Port Vale so far this year, both away. 5 points on the board from a possible 15, or 6 from a possible 15.
Yeah, I fancy Reading purely because I think Ruben Sellers is going to start to play the kids a little bit more. I think he's had the old guard in for certainly the Port Vale game and the game that they lost before that at home. That was at Peterborough. Played the old guard against Peterborough and Port Vale and lost both of them. And they played the kids against Millwall, against Stevenage, and against Cheltenham, and they're able to pick up some wins there. So. It's a good result. So, and plus they've signed Don Ballard on loan from Southampton, who worked with Sellers before. He's one of the top goal scorers in Premier League 2 so far this year. Going to be a really good signing. Cambridge, yes, they'll be fancying it at home. They've been very good so far this season. But for me, Reading do have that little bit extra quality in terms of your wings, your Nibs, your Smiths. I know Smith is going to be injured, but Harvey Nibs going back to the Abbey, that's going to be interesting. I quite fancy a Nibs goal and a 1-0 win for Reading.
Let's see if he gets a better reception than Morgan Feeney going back to Carlisle. The League One table then, obviously taken from BBC Sport. Exeter City and Bolton Wanderers currently sit in the top 2 with 13 points. Just outside on goals scored is Stevenage, Port Vale, Portsmouth, Oxford United. Who would have thought Port Vale, Stevenage and Exeter, 3 sides that a lot of people had in their bottom 12s this season. I've got a couple of those teams. Someone at bottom of the league, not to mention names. Portsmouth and Oxford also make up that top 6. Lincoln City do drop outside the top 6. Barnsley go up to 8th. Wycombe rise to 9th. Derby drop to 10th. Cambridge not played yet, but with a victory could go all the way to realistically 6th in the League One table. And Blackpool rocket back up into the top half there. Again, 6 games in. What are we thinking of that top 12?
I'm thinking if we didn't drop those bloody points against Rovers and Northampton, we'd be top of the league by 2 points. That's what I'm thinking. It's not your conventional top 12, is it? You've got some surprises in there. You've got some teams that you'd expect to be higher up than what they are. The likes of maybe Derby, Blackpool, but you've got to give credit to the sides that you're not expecting to be up there. Exeter, Port Vale, Stevenage, Lincoln to an extent. If Cambridge can win tomorrow night, they'd be 7th, wouldn't they? So it's going to be interesting. And I think the teams that are up there, they're up there on merit, mate. And after 6 games, the table is starting to take a little bit of shape. Now, you can't read too much into it, but it is starting to take shape. So it's going to be good, mate. I'm looking forward to seeing how it progresses, but I'd expect 1 or 2 teams to sort of come up from the bottom half and 1 or 2 perhaps to fade away a little bit. But really intrigued to see how it goes. Obviously, from a Lincoln point of view, hopefully we can stick around where we are for all season and get in the top 6.
Absolutely. Going on to that bottom 12 now. Peterborough, who did win their first 3 games, Jake, have now conceded 7 in their last 2 games, or 8 in the last 3, with defeats to Northampton, Derby, and now Portsmouth away from home. Shrewsbury, after an okay start, sit where you'd expect Shrewsbury Town to finish in 14th place. Northampton just below on 7. Charlton do rise to 16th after a disappointing display. 5 defeats in a row in all comps. 4 in the league, getting a win over now managerless Fleetwood. Bristol Rovers stay 17th, exactly where they finished last season, with just 1 win and no clean sheets in their opening set of fixtures as well. Reading drop all the way to 18th. 5 points with a point deduction in there. It would have been 6 without. Carlisle rise to 19th, and you'd be pretty much expecting Carlisle to be there all season. Leyton Orient to keep battling on, but again, not consistent enough. 11 goals already conceded in Sky Bet League One this season. 4 at home to Portsmouth. 4-0 written all over it that day, and 3 to Steve Evans' Stevenage side as well. Wigan do drop back into the bottom 4. They'd have 10 points without the deduction, 2 defeats in the last 2. Burton, the lowest goal scorers in Sky Bet League One, also in that bottom 4, and Fleetwood sit just above Cheltenham on goal difference and -7 goal difference. Not the first time Fleetwood have got away with something on goal difference. 1.5 defeats in a row and managerless now. How many of those sides do you see struggling come the end of the season, Jake? And what do you see going forward into the next 6 games of fixtures? Do you think anyone in that bottom 4 maybe rise up? I think the most likely will definitely be Wigan Athletic. I think Burton, Fleetwood, and Cheltenham are going to be there to stay.
Yeah, I think your obvious candidate is going to be Wigan. I wouldn't be surprised if Orient sort of raise a few places as well. They put in a couple of positive performances if they start taking the chances. Carlisle, you expect to perhaps drop back into it. And do you know what? This might be because we've played them recently and it's fresh in my mind. Bristol Rovers, I mean, they've not been great, and they really needed a striker. And the big players at the minute are not on form. And going into every game, they're going to concede a goal. That makes it twice as hard to win a game of football. So Bristol Rovers at the minute would be a team that would alarm me, given the fact they can't keep a clean sheet. But yeah, like you said, I expect Wigan to rise up. Perhaps looking at Northampton to drop further down, Shrewsbury as well. They've not had a good couple of weeks, so it's going to be interesting, Ben. Certainly, I think Fleetwood also are going to get out of it. I think you'll make a good managerial appointment and push yourselves out of it, give yourself a bit of a bounce in the next 6 or so, and find your way to midway as well.
Absolutely. So we're going to come into the last 5 minutes of the show. So if you could leave some questions regarding League One, anything, this is off the cuff now. We can do, we'll answer some questions. Also get liking the stream, subscribe if you're new as well. Jake, where can they go and find your channel, mate?
Yeah, Channel 70. Yeah, link below. Channel 70. It's taken a bit of it's been on the back burner the last couple of weeks. I've been really busy with work. It's a really busy period at work. So I've been working 11-hour days, so it's a bit more difficult to get the content out now, as you can appreciate. But videos will be returning in the coming weeks. Also, go and check out that League One podcast that we've plugged throughout the entire stream. That's a really good fun to do. Obviously, come and support us on Patreon. We've got some really good stuff for TLOP Extra coming in the next week or so. And also my Twitter, Jake_Tong98, post a lot. Trying to get to 1,000 followers on Twitter as well. So if you could come over, and I think I'm about 90 odd away. So feel free to come over and drop us a follow.
Absolutely. And also one final ask. There's 82 people in this chat. We've got a link below in the comment section. Please, will you go and vote for me in the Football Content Creator Awards as well? Tonight is the last night to vote. Voting closes at midnight. If you could vote for us as best content creator in the Football League, all you do need to do is click the link below, go to best content creator in Football League, CODS Vlog, CODS space VLOGS. A spelling lesson from yours truly as well. Scroll to the bottom, press vote. That'd be massively appreciated. We got to the final last few years. Let's hopefully get there again, representing League One as well. So if you could vote, let me know if you've done it, and I'll give you a bit of a shout out as well in the final parts of the show. So if you could do that, that'd be massively appreciated. Dylan saying, look at the beautiful sight of the League One table. Bloody, it's not a beautiful sight, I tell you that now. I tell you what, lads, today has been one hell of a day. So I wake up, obviously I'm on the phone to the 4-0, at 4-0, and all the T-loppers, planning today's show and the day, what we're going to do. Planning the show, obviously, I put hours of preparation in for these shows as well. Not like Jake that just rolls out of bed and hopes for the best. No, I'm only joking. And then obviously the news comes out, make a video on Scott Brown, get to the gym, run a 10K, come home, again, straight onto the show, watching games of football. We're on there for 2 hours, bear in mind, not just talking about League One as well. Plenty of other things that we'll get up to as well, good and bad. And then obviously I'm planning for this show, and it's been a bit of a hectic day, but we all love it, don't we? Who will Charlton get as manager? Because I don't see why not we can't get Charlton's ex-manager Dean Holden. But Charlton been rumored to leave Bowyer. I don't think that'll be the case. I think they'll go for an unknown that's maybe not in the frame right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they go for somebody like a Matt Gray at Sutton. Very local.
Every time a managerial goes in League One, you always say Matt Gray.
Yeah, he's doing a good job.
That pays pivotal for how good he is.
Yeah, I think you just have to look. I know they've had a couple of defeats, but just as a manager, Sutton United should never be a football league club, Ben. And the fact that they are and have been, I think is testament to the work he's done there. So for me, Matt Gray, local manager. You maybe look at Luke Garrard down the road at Boreham Wood, or the bloke that's at Barnet. His name absolutely escapes me now, but I'm sure it'll come back to me later. Barnet are flying at the moment, so I think you're right, Charlton. But then they might go into an academy and pick up someone from a Spurs or a Chelsea. I wouldn't be surprised.
All depends to me on their appointment.
Yeah.
So it's still early on, but remember Barnsley were 20 games into a season, were bottom of the league and got into the top 6 comfortably.
Yeah.
I think they finished 5th and then beat. Oh, who did they beat? They won quite comfortably in the first. Scunthorpe or someone like a Scunthorpe.
Scunthorpe. Yeah,
Scunthorpe. It might have been. Yeah, I think it was Scunthorpe. They beat him quite comfortably in the playoffs, and then they beat Millwall in the playoff final, if I remember rightly. As well. Who do you think is in the league? Reganpool. Agree with you, Joe. Not for the first time. I think this man will. I think because he was so. I wouldn't probably say he's the most surprising signing because we all knew Reganpool was a good player. I am surprised. I knew how good he was, and we all knew how good he was. I'm really surprised how he's stepped up again. He seemed to have been that good, and he's kind of not stayed there, not gone down a bit with the pressure Portsmouth. He kind of feels like the environment he's in, he's loving it.
He was a championship player before he went to Pompey, and he's proven himself to be a top-end championship player at Port. I think to throw a name in for signing of the summer so far, Alfie May potentially. 4 goals already so far for Charlton, 2 yesterday. Charlton needed a goal scorer, and at the moment, I mean, it's not clicking, and he still scored 4 and 6. So when they do start clicking, you start thinking Alfie May is going to score 20, 25 goals.
That'd be 10 grand a goal, £250,000 fee. Yeah, I agree with that. I do think it was timed very well in the Charlton game yesterday. I had between 12 and 40 minutes injury time, and there was 12, and they played 14 in the end. So I do like this kind of the crunching down on it because yesterday there was so many injuries, and they've probably normally been 7 or 8, but yesterday there had to be double figures. If Portsmouth don't go invincible, who will be the first team to beat them? Let me have a look at the fixtures, and then let me get back to you because I think you know something, Dylan. As much as I love you, I can't wait for you to lose a game of football just for the fact of.
Could you imagine if it's against us, Ben, as well?
16th of September is looking possible against Derby. Tell you what, Portsmouth got a really tough run in. Derby away, Barnsley away, Lincoln at home, Wigan away, Wycombe at home, Vale at home. Tell you what, these next 6 games, we remember Portsmouth started off really well the first 6 games last time.
Yeah.
And then they crumbled a little. These next 6 games are going to prove their worth, Portsmouth. Let's see. I don't think it'll be Derby where you lose. I think maybe Barnsley, somewhere like that. Obviously, I know that's been rearranged. How do you think Portsmouth will do against Derby? I think it'll be a draw. And how do you think Portsmouth will do against Lincoln?
I think we'll go there and get a point, if not beat them. I'm not scared of Pompey. Genuinely, I'm not scared. We're scoring goals. We're very resolute. We'll give Pompey the ball, mate. We'll say, do you know what? Have the ball. Don't break us down. And then we'll go and hit them on the counter. Danny Mandroy, 1-0.
I think they'll finish in the top 12 at this moment in time, Jake.
Yeah, 10th, similar to where they were last year. But if they get a great appointment, there's no reason they can't get in the top 6.
Yeah. What was my 10K time today? My best was a year and a bit ago, obviously illness, was 44.25. I did a 7.5K on Wednesday, and I got 32.50, which would have been 44. Today I went, because obviously everything that had gone on, I was slightly stressed, and I wasn't really wanting to go for a PB today. It was just a simple 47.50 today, so I was happy with it. I just wanted to stretch my legs. I haven't run since Wednesday, so there's always an excuse when it comes to running, in there, and that's my excuse. Didn't want just to take it nice and easy today, and we'll get back on it next week as well.
I think I've rattled a few Pompey fans, Ben.
Say again.
I think I've rattled a few Pompey fans.
Oh, I know. There we are. 44. Well done. But thank you very much. And we'll end the show there. Again, thank you very much for watching. Please like, please subscribe. We've had 80 in the stream right now. We've had up to 110. Something. 110 watched us. There's 119 Fleetwood away fans yesterday. Nearly many away fans who've been, watch this stream. So thank you very much for those that have watched. I hope you have enjoyed it. And if you do enjoy these League One streams, we are here every Sunday, 8 o'clock. Next Sunday, we will be taking a little bit of a break due to the internationals. There's only 2 games to cover, but we will be back to discuss all of them in 2 weeks' time as well. But we'll have some League One related videos. We'll have some Fleetwood related managerial videos as well. So subscribe below. Everyone who does subscribe that likes is appreciated. Is massively is appreciated to me, and also Jake, and also everyone that supports us. Thank you very, very much. Jake, any final words, mate?
Yeah, just good to be getting on again, mate. Really enjoyed it. I seem to be spending most of my weekends with you and the boys now, which is nice. So, yeah, it's good, mate. Looked good stream, wasn't it? Good stream. And we've rattled a few Pompey fans on the way, which is...
You have, I've not. You have, I've not. Don't be dragging me into your boat. Don't be dragging...
Yeah, I'm not bothered.
Bear in mind, Portsmouth fans, I wouldn't take it. Can I just say, Portsmouth fans, it's a good omen. Jake, every year, dislikes a football club very, very... The couple of years ago, he used to pip all the time at Sunderland. Sunderland went up. The next year, pips at Sheffield Wednesday, they went up. So Portsmouth, you're going to win the playoffs this year at Wembley in good fashion. So, Jake, 3 out of 3. Things do come in threes. But again, thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, turn notifications on. That'd be massively appreciated. A big thank you to the main man, Jake. Go and subscribe to his channel as well. And if you could vote for us in the Football Content Creator Awards, it would be massively appreciated as we do push to make the final. And hopefully Fleetwood Town can win something very, very soon. And hopefully maybe the Content Awards we will never see. Hopefully we will see very soon. Jake, any final words, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I've got some Pompey tears to put in this in a couple of weeks.
Anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys. A big over and out from me. And again, Sky Bet League One carries on going. Loads of goals, 2 managerial sackings already. I think we'll have another 10 by the end of the season as well. I've really enjoyed talking to you guys. And again, a big over and out. Up the Cods, up the League One. And Jake? Thanks for watching, guys. Over and out. I'll see you in the week. Drive safely.